I hope that you're well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 1 English lesson on subject verb agreement. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of English Language Arts, grade 1. And then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of subject-verb agreement. All right, so our chapter is subject-verb agreement. Our subject is English Language Arts. Grade 1. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on is pronoun-verb agreement, to complete the sentence with the base verb, and also pronoun-verb agreement and to complete the sentence with the base subject. All right. So we said that in our previous lesson that we have subject-verb agreement, and the subject needs to agree with the verb, meaning the subject needs to agree with the action, right? And the subject within the sentence so the subject within the sentence is it's the person or thing that's doing the action. And then, of course, the verb is the action that the person or thing is doing. Right? So that is subject verb agreement. All right. So, like I say, this is a continuation of our previous lesson on subject verb agreement, right? And we said that some sentences are about one person, or some of the sentences are about one thing, right? And in those sentences, right, where it's either about one person or one thing, then we need to add an S to the verb, right? So it will show you that one person is doing something or one thing is doing the action. And whenever we show that either one person or one thing does the action, and then we need to add an S to a verb, right? And that will basically show that one person is doing something. So if we look at our sentence, right, this is like an example of when we are either talking about one person or one thing doing something, and then we add an s to our verb. And remember, a verb is a doing thing, right? So she is a person, right? So instead of saying, for example, a person's name, right? So instead of saying Nadine, we say she, because remember we said a pronoun, it takes the place of a noun, right? So which means that the words like she, he, they, you, I, we, those are pronouns, right? And pronouns to take the place of a noun. So instead of saying the person's name, right? So instead of me saying, for example, Jack, I say he. Instead of saying she, instead of saying Nadine, I say she, right? Because that is a pronoun, and the pronoun, it takes the place of a noun, right? So she is one person, right? And we said that the action that she does is walk, right? But if it's one person, we say walks. And as you can see, we added an is, right? Because walks. And then if we also look at another example, then it says, it rolls under the bed. So it rolls under the bed, right? So which means that this is then a thing that we are making mention of, right? So we will say it. It refers to one thing, right? And then we say rolls under the bed. All right. And this is basically one person or one thing doing an action, right? So if we were to think of more examples, right, of actions, then we would say talks. So if it's one person doing something, we say talks. They walks. It's one person or one thing. Rolls, fills, because it's one person, right? Dances, because it's one person. Sings, because one person is doing it or one thing. Sings. Laughs, right? Jumps, because we are referring to one person. And that is why our verb needs to end with an is, because that is referring to one person doing an action, right? Eats, because one person eats, right? One person reads. So don't forget to add the s at the end of our verb, right? And that is basically to show the action. All right. So now, if more than one person or more than one thing does an action, so some sentences, right, are about more than one person or they're about more than one thing, right? And remember, a person is, of course, you, me, I, they, she, he, right? We. And then a thing is, for example, can be toys, it can be tables, it can be chairs, pencils, but things, right? And when either we make mention of one person within a sentence or one thing within the sentence doing an action, and then our verb is not going to add with an end. It do not add an is. So we do not add an is, right? So if we were to rewrite that very same verbs that we just wrote there in the first sentence, right? Before we go to that one, let's look at this example. It says, they make dinner. So they refers to more than one person doing something, right? Because they. So we can say they refers to more than one people or more than one person. So make. No is at the end, just make dinner, right? We refers to more than one person. We love. So love, no is, only love ice cream, right? So if we were to even think of verbs, right, that refers to more than one person or more than one thing doing something. Let's say we were to write that very same verbs, then we would say, oh, more than one person talk. They full, right? They jump. No is. No is. They dance. They sing. They laugh. They eat. They read. We can even say they walk or they roll or it roll, right? Because that refers to more than one person or more than one thing that's doing something. And as you can see, we did not add an s over here that refers to more than one person or thing, right? And then when it comes to certain, because now we already made mention of one person or thing doing an action, right? And if one person or one thing does an action, then our verb ends with an S, like we did over here. And if more than one person or thing, for example, does an action, and then we do not end our verb or add a verb to our S, right? We do not add an S to our verb, right? But then also some sentences can either just be about you or can just be about I, right? You referring to the next person, I referring to me, right? That is not if you like thinking of yourself in that sense. So like since I am the one referring to myself, I would say I, and then I would refer to you guys that are watching or listening, then I refer to you as you, right? From your point of view, you referring to yourself as I, and I am the you, right? So some sentences are about you, and some sentences are about I, right? And when we, for example, with if our subject is you or our subject is I, if you are doing something or I am doing something, then we do not add an is to the verb. We do not add an is to the verb, right? So we do not add an is to our verb if our sentences are about you or if our sentences are about I. For example, we say you, which refers to one person, eat, no is. We didn't say eats, eat. You eat an apple. Not eats, eat an apple because it's you doing an action, right? Then we have I, right? Because we said you and I, if we're referring to you and I within the sentence, then we do not add an is. So we say, I need, not I needs, I need some help, right? So that is basic. So which means that you and I is the same as, or when it comes to not adding an is to the verb, right? Then you and I would be similar to if the sentence is more, if it refers to more than one person or refers to more than one thing. Because then we do not add an is to our verb. But like we say, if the sentence only refers to one person or thing doing an action, then we add an is to our verb. And remember, a verb is a doing word, it's an action that takes place or that someone or something does within a sentence. All right. So now we're going to a+students.ca. We said our chapter is subject verb agreement. And the lesson that we are going to be doing first is pronoun verb agreement. Complete the sentence with the best verb. All right. So if we were to complete our sentence with the base verb, right? Remember we said that some of our sentences would refer to one person or it would refer to one thing doing something, right? And if our sentence refers to one person or one thing doing something, and then we need to add an is to our verb, right? So we add an is to our verb. And here we made an example of she is one person. She is one person, walks. So can you see how we added an is to our verb? Because it's walks. Eat, right? It's like a thing, right? It refers to one thing. So eat. And we can say rolls. And as you can see, that verb ends with an is. And then we have where we said some of our verbs or some of our sentences ends with refers to more than one person or more than one thing, right? And we say that those do not end with an is. Do not. Remember, only if one person does something or one thing, then our verb ends with an is. But if it's more than one person, and then our verb should not end with an is. For example, they refer to more than one person, they make no is. We love, right? No is, only love, right? Without the is. And then we also made mention that if we refer to you and if we refer to I, and then we do not add any s to our verb, it's the same as referring to more than one person or thing, right? So you eat an apple, and as we can see, eat without the s. I need some help, need without the s, right? So now here it says complete the sentence. It says we refers to more than one person, right? Do we say we know the game, or do we say we knows the game? Which one is correct? We know the game, know that game, or we knows that game? Which one is correct? So which one is correct? Do we say we know the game, first one, or do we say we knows the game? Keeping in mind, do we add an s or no s to our verb? And if we were to choose the correct one, and then we say we, because we're referring to more than one, right? So we say we know the game, right? Know is. So we just say we know the game. Because remember, we said that if within a sentence, right, our subject or our pronoun, right, it refers to more than one person or more than one things doing something, then we do not add an s. So we say we know that game. All right, the next one says, let's see. It says we, do we say we? Yes, well done. No is correct. Well done. No is correct because we do not add an s, right? So well done. If we look at the next one, it says we. Do we say we stays with the Wilson, or do we say we stay with the Wilsons? Which one is correct? We stays with the Wilsons, or we stay with the Wilsons? Which one is correct? All right, then if we were to choose the correct answer, we, then we will choose the second one and we would say we stay with the Wilsons, not stays, Because stays refers to one person doing something, but we, since it's more than one person, we say we stay with the Wilsons. All right. So we, once again, we still refers to more than one person. So do we say we sleep in the barn, or do we say we sleeps in the barn? Which one, which verb is correct in order for us to complete the sentence? Do we say we sleep in the barn, or do we say we sleeps in the barn? And if we were to choose the correct one, then we would say we sleep in the barn, not sleeps, because sleeps refers to one person doing something, but more than one person, we say we sleeps. We sleep, sorry, only one without an S. We sleep in the barn. All right, so now we're going to our test where we say pronoun verb agreement. We're going to complete the sentence with the best verb, the action, right? Once again, if we're referring to one person or one thing doing an action, our verb ends with an S. If more than one person does the action, our verb do not end with an S, right? We're referring to you or we're referring to I doing something, and then our verb also do not end with an S. All right, so do we say we hold hands, option one, or option two, we holds hands? Which one is correct? We refers to more than one person. Which one is correct? Do we say option one, we hold hands, or option two, we holds hands? And if we were to choose the correct one, we would say we hold hands because it refers to one person doing something, right? So option one. All right. Do we say we stay with the Wilsons, or do we say we stays with the Wilson? Do we, option one, stay with the Wilsons, or option two, do we stays with the Wilsons? So do we stay with the Wilsons or do we stays with the Wilsons? We, referring to more than one person. We. All right, so we will say we stay with no S, just stay, right? All right, the next one, also referring to more than one person, they. Do we say they grow? Option one, oranges trees. Or do we say they, option two, grows oranges trees? So which one is correct? Option one or option two, grow or grows? Yes, stay is correct. Well done. And holds is correct. Well done. So now the next one. Do we say they grow oranges trees or grows oranges trees? All right, so we can then say they grow, right? Referring to more than one person grow. Do we say we wins the game or do we say we win the game? We wins the game or we win the game? Option one, wins, or option two, win. All right, so we say we win the game because more than one person win the game, right? All right. It says he. Do we say he work with my mother? Or do we say he works with my mother? We're referring to one person doing an action. Do we say he work with my mother? Or do we say he works with my mother? So option one, work, or option two, works. And then we can say he works. Because remember, we said if one person does an action, then we add an S to our verb. So he works with my mother. All right, so now we're going to complete the sentence with the base subject. And remember, the subject shows the person or thing doing the action, right? The person or thing doing an action. And remember, we also said that a pronoun takes the place of a noun. So we're not going to get somebody's name, but we will get words like she or he or it or they or we, right? You, I. So we need to basically identify the subject, either the person or the thing that is doing the action. We're going to have to identify that, right? Do we say, all right, so now let's go to our test. We are referring now to our subject doing an action. Our subject is either the person or the thing doing an action. And remember, if our verb ends with an S, then it is one person doing something. If our verb do not end with an S or does not end with an S, then we are referring to more than one people or persons or things doing something. So do we say they laughs at the story, or do we say she laughs at the story? Which one is correct? They laughs at the story, or do we say she laughs at the story? All right, so if we were to look at our verb that says laughs, then we will say she laughs at the story. So she laughs at the story. All right, let's go to the next one. Eat, right? Not with an S, just eat. Do we say they eat lunch in the park? Or do we say she eat lunch in the park? Which one is correct? They or she? They or she? All right, so we will say they because it refers to more than one person eat lunch in the park. All right. Barks. Do we say it bark at the cats or do we say they bark at the cats? Which one is correct? Do we say it bark at the cats or they bark at the cats? It bark at the cats or they bark at the cats? We need to choose the correct subject, the correct pronoun to complete our sentence. Yes, they are correct, or they is correct. All right, so we say they bark at the cats. So they, it refers to more than one dogs, right? All right, do we say it makes a loud noise or they makes a loud noise? We need to choose the correct one. It makes a loud noise, or do we say they makes a loud noise? All right, so we can say it, referring referring to one thing making a noise, or one person making a noise. So we say it makes a noise. All right. Do we say we see grandpa every day? Or do we say she see grandpa every day? We see grandpa every day, or she see grandpa every day? Which one is correct? This is the last one. All right, so we can say we see grandpa every day. All right, so well done, well done. So that is the end of our lesson on subject verb agreement. We see that our subject needs to agree with our verb. In this case, our subject was basically the noun, which is a pronoun that was added. Remember, we said a pronoun takes the place of the noun, and our pronouns are words like he, she, they, we, you, I, right? It, those are pronouns, right? So, which means that your subject needs to agree with your verb. If we're referring to one person or thing doing something, then our verb ends with an S. If more than one person or thing does something, then our verb does not end with an S. All right, so that is the end of our lessons. Thank you very much, grade ones, for joining our class. Till next time, have a good day further. Goodbye.